Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. A call for leadership in the South African platinum mining industry to transcend vested interests has been made by Royal Bafokeng Holdings CEO Niall Carroll. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer is in the studio to tell us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Now, Carroll said at the Southern African Institute of Mining and Metallurgy's International Platinum Conference that farm fences are preventing full value from being realised. What is he alluding to?
Well, this bombshell speech that he gave, I was in Tanzania at the time. I was in the serene Serengeti, and the resonance even hit us there because we're not used to this sort of forthrightness coming out of the market and the platinum area. And Niall has brought back an era where there's robust conversation. And what he's talking about is that you have a situation where the way Mother Nature planned the ore bodies is not taken into account when miners come along. They determine what they own of that ore body by farm fences on the surface. So, the map of their ownership is drawn up on surface. And that can mean that an ore body is fractured and you don't get the best return from it. And you are mining next to your rival who's also mining the same ore body, and you're not cooperating. And what the loss is there's a loss of national patrimony. These assets are very valuable to South Africa, and you need to make sure that you get every last drop of that value out of them. And there was a farm fencing issue with the gold mines, but it only came up once they were starting to struggle, as Niall points out. Then people said, let's take down these farm fences and do asset swaps, and let's do it properly. I think Bobby Gottsell, the former CEO of Anglo Gold Ashanti, he was very conscious of national patrimony and making sure that you did best for all the stakeholders, the country, the government and the community and your shareholders. And he would always want to take down the farm fences where there was logic. And this is an issue now which Niall has raised that should happen in the platinum industry early. Let's mine these the way Mother Nature intended and not introduce our own patterns that don't get full value.
What does Carroll say about Brian Gilbertson and his support of the apartheid regime?
Well, it was quite a blow to Brian Gilbertson. Especially at this time now when we can't even remember the old Baputa Tswana clearly, and we've forgotten Lucas Mangope. But of course, not too long ago, that was a real issue. And of course, at that stage, Brian Gilbertson was in a different corporate environment. He was with Gencor. And Gencor controlled Impala Platinum. But what is so harsh on Brian Gilbertson, who's quite an iconic figure himself, is that it seems that even after apartheid was expunged from our memory, he was still trying to cling to a deal that they'd done with Lucas Mangope in order to shortchange the Bafokeng, which, if that is true, doesn't really reflect to his credit, particularly now when he is back mining in the Rustenburg area. He's got platinum, he's got his own community issues to deal with the Bakatla. And, if he's now made synonymous with the old hated apartheid regime, it might not do his business as much good as we thought he might do in that area, because this is quite an assertion that has been levelled at Brian Gilbertson.
Carroll mentions that Xstrata and its link to Gencor, which benefits from ferrochrome marketing, like De Beers used to benefit from diamond marketing through the Central Selling Organisation. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, the Central Selling Organisation was a very monopolistic approach to diamond marketing. And he's suggesting that Glencore, because of its strong shareholding in Xstrata, can also flex its muscles and do similar things with the Bafokeng. Now, the Bafokeng have got a very good relationship with Xstrata. They probably and through Xstrata they are linked to Glencore, because if you're in partnership with Xstrata, Xstrata makes sure that their metals and minerals go through Glencore. Well, that's the general route that Glencore markets it, and Glencore is a big shareholder there. And this is a complaint by Niall Carroll saying, how dare they have an evergreen arrangement with us and a fixed charge while we go, we put on all the risk capital, and then someone sits back and doesn't take any risk. And he likens it in Carroll terms to a confidence trick, similar to what De Beers used to do with its central selling organization. Of course, De Beers has since abolished that, and De Beers is a much different company. And to its credit, Xstrata said immediately they will rush off and speak to the Bafokeng about this to see whether something can be done. So hopefully something is done, that there isn't anything that really doesn't benefit South Africa's national interest, where someone is creaming off profits while others are taking the risk.
Now, Carroll seems to be quite critical of Anglo Plat, but he seems to have full praise for Impala Platinum. What's the story there?
Yeah, I think his biggest brickbat was lunged at Anglo Platinum. He had very little to say that reflected to Anglo Platinum's credit, and indicated that the approach in dealing with the Bafokeng was shrewd and almost bordering on the cunning, the way they dealt with it. First, shortchanging them on a royalty, and then quickly currying favour with them because they were fighting at that stage with Impala Platinum, but doing it in a way that poked Impala Platinum in the eye, and then failed to actually deliver in the way he thought they should in probably what was in Anglo Platinum's terms a fairly small enterprise as Bafokeng Rasimoni, so not giving it the attention that the Bafokeng believed it deserved. So the bouquet was left for Impala Platinum today, not the Impala Platinum of old, where he says it is really embraced, the new South Africa. But of course, he is on the board of Impala Platinum, so he's probably going to say nice things about them. And the Bafokeng own 13% of Impala Platinum, so he's probably going to reserve his comments. But given the candid nature of his attack, perhaps Impala better also watch out in case they are on the receiving end of some of his criticism.
Well, thank you very much for chatting to us, Martin.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
And that's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insight into what's happening in the mining world.